You're listening to Southampton's Voice FM. My name is Xan, and welcome to Your Green Breakfast. Now, plastic is not only all around us, but also within the products that we use. And to raise awareness, Plastic Free July encourages consumers to reduce plastic waste and be more aware about the products we put on and in our body. Here to help is Susie Hewson, environmental activist and founder of Natracare, who produce compostable sanitary products. Susie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, thanks. Lovely to be here, especially on a green breakfast, my kind of cup of tea.
I'm sure it is. I mean, you've been an environmentalist for quite some time. How long, when did you start?
Oh, well, I was an art student, so radicalisation started early, born in the inner city, so not much access to the countryside. So really since 1974, I would say. But doing this with Natracare or being Natracare since 1989. So yeah, I've tied myself to a lot of trees and I've been a lot around this. Um, it's the way of being, I think, rather than becoming. I think I was just born that way.
And you must have obviously avoided a lot of plastic, but when did you first find that plastic was detrimental to the environment?
Well, the canary in the mine are always environmentalists because we get the science early and then we have to try and, push it out to governments to pay attention. So in the 1970s, really, it was very, very aware of how the plastics industry was accelerating. More and more things were being made takeaway, quick plastics, easy wrap, smaller packs, clothes were changing, the synthetic clothes that we're wearing definitely started in the 70s. But more so when in period products, became very conscious right from the beginning in 1989 that 95% of a pad or a pant liner was plastic. I mean, we think of plastic like the sort of the stuff that you put your shopping in, which you'd be right to think that's polyethylene. But there are all sorts of fabric-like plastics like polypropylene that looks like looks like a sort of woven material. It's not woven, but I'm not saying that all plastics are bad. They have their issues, and there are 16,000 chemicals that are used to make plastic, and it all comes from the petroleum industry or from the natural gas industry, and we know that 4,200 of them are identified as toxic to human life and wildlife, and many of them are unknown. UNEP is really concerned about it. They're really sort of want to know about the unknowns that are in these plastic production processes because they're concerned about leaching out into food and environment. An environment that can be washing your clothes. We hear about fibers being washed down out into your washing machine. When you walk around, you're sloughing off those plastic fibers too. So yes, being aware of it has been a long time, but the industry is accelerating. They're looking to increase production sixfold over the next 10 years. So being aware of the problem early, it becomes quite an issue when it accumulates over decades, and we're not only just really now, programs like yours are talking about this as an impact on people and our habitats. Generally, it's usually too late, isn't it? But it's never too late for change. But the evidence is quite significant now.
I mean, this is listening to you talk, and first of all, I admire your conviction and the length of time that you have and hours you have put into this, because here you are since the 70s, been active in trying to reduce the use. It must be at sometimes very frustrating when you're up against such a tidal force of sort of destructive energy.
Well, it is, but I think I was born positive. I always look for the positives, and I think to that sort of doomsday scenario, I think we wouldn't have brilliant scientists and innovators if we didn't have positive things. So I think all of these issues, where when there's a sort of a huge, I mean, the plastics industry is huge. I mean, it is a behemoth, but as individuals we can all do our bit. I mean, by using less plastic or choosing home compostable plastics, a lot of food wraps now are converting to home compostable films, and we use home compostable biofilm in our pads as a barrier. We're as you rightly said, we're certified compostable to EN 13432. I think we're the only ones that are. I'm pretty sure that we are. But there is this, from 16,000 chemicals in your conventional plastics, we have 5 raw materials which are all plant-based. So simple, the more simple choices you can make. Take packaging. If you go to your local shop or market, take your own packaging with you, reuse it, and make good choices for plastic. And there's brilliant things that you can do with plastics in medical devices. Don't think of it as waste, think of it as a resource. And if you can save those resources by choosing wisely, or getting the unnecessary plastic out of your daily lives, you really are going to make a huge choice. And everybody is a wedge. Everybody can put their little axe at that stone, and if we all crack together, then that sort of impact is much greater.
Because of course, microplastics are one of the biggest concerns. Because even if you do recycle, or plastic waste goes away, as you pointed out, it still breaks down.
Yeah, well, be afraid, because the microplastics aren't the end of the problem, really, because microplastics are sort of less than 5 millimeters in size. But when we talk about nanoplastics, they're between 1 and 1,000th. There are, like, a human hair is between 80,000 and 100,000 mu, and nanoplastics are between 1 and 1,000. And these are the kind of things. So microplastics, which are the things like super absorbents in period products. I'm sorry, breakfast people, but you also find them I'm vegetarian, and I suspect a lot of your readers probably are vegans or vegetarians, but not being, I am. But if you're buying meat, the bottom of a meat tray has a little membrane which is full of superabsorbents. It's a polyacrylate. It's derived from petroleum. It's there to absorb the blood, so that the meat. I'm sorry, this is really horrible in the breakfast. It's sort of, that's what it's there to absorb. But they're microplastics. They can't. You cannot destroy them. They basically end up, if they get washed into the waterways in the ocean, sit in the ocean. But when they break down into nanoparticles, and these are the things that are really of concern, because there is evidence that you're inhaling them, you're absorbing them. There is concerns that I think Stanford University found nanoplastics in breast milk, in lungs, in the blood. There is some research. I spoke to a young lad who's doing a PhD in nanoplastics in the atmosphere, and from tires. If you're driving around the countryside, slamming your brakes on every time you do that, there is microplastics ripping off your tires into the atmosphere. And if you're at the side of the road, you're inhaling them. But the scary thing is that the science on the impacts of those nanomaterials in our bodies is quite scant. I mean, there is some. Harvard have been doing stuff, Stanford, the World Health Organization is really worried about this. They're calling for studies to see what the impact is on human health. But one of the tricky things is that these things, these plastics, also, if you're looking in the brain, if you look at them under really high intensity, they can look exactly the same as the sort of materials that naturally exist in your brain. So identifying them is really quite difficult as well. So there is concern enough for the World Health Organization to call for more research. Where the money is, I have no idea. But the fact that nanoparticles are being found in cell tissues, in let's say experiments, another breakfast time thing, but where they've looked at cell cultures where they can see how they react in the cell. They don't know what long-term impacts they can have, but knowing what is in there and how they can interfere, they can summarize what could happen to the human body with build-ups of these inside of us. So it's not a pretty picture. and you can't really get rid of them. That's they're there, they're in the atmosphere. The stuff that's used to make plastics that we probably are aware of, PFAS, phthalates, bisphenols. These are all things that are used to make plasticizers and make the plastic flexible or rigid or whatever. Heavy metals, lead, mercury. These are all used as additives in the industry. But there are additives that we don't even know what they're used, how they're used, unintentionally released and added chemicals. So being plastic aware, it shouldn't just be for, it's like, a dog's not just for Christmas. Plastic awareness should be with you every day. Because if this is ubiquitous around us. We've become the plastic throwaway generation, I guess. No, and that's not the only need the word generation, because no one's really to blame. What is to blame is lack of knowledge for people to make sensible choices or informed choices. This is an industry that hides what it doesn't want you to know and lobbies for things that they don't want to change. So yeah, and as I said, I wear the scars of 37 years with developing and producing and campaigning for Natracare, that when you talk out about these things, you get challenged by the industry. Be challenged. I mean, Greenpeace are fined all the time for speaking out about what they know and people don't take actions for. But that is a commitment to make sure that people really do know that you can't hide that. So as an environmentalist, speaking out, challenging, being out there is what you do so that other people can see what you see. It's not being awkward or just, doing it for a fan. It is really an action to show. And you don't need to go and tie yourself to trees or climb bridges but my heart started to understand the implications of this personal care industry back in the 70s, when Greenpeace had to take a boat out to stop the dumping of chlorine gas into the ocean. That's dioxin, furans. The industry just dump it in the ocean. Unless you take action and bring it to attention, then no one knows. No one speaks out about it. It just, it gets underwritten. So it's the same with plastics. You can take your action by keeping the plastic out of your life as much as you possibly can.
But it's the finding the product that makes that decision easy for people, as opposed to something that they actually have to do, because those who are keen will do it, and those who are dead against, obviously dead against. It's the people in between who just want to get on with their lives and have a sort of a pleasant life with not having to worry about these things. It's making it easy for them.
Everybody should not have to worry about these things. Yes. They're not, they're the strength in the middle. They should not have to worry about these things. So don't take it personally, folks. Don't be it should not be like this. But you can make choices. As I said, avoid using plastic wherever you can. Rigid plastic, soft plastics, it's all plastic. It comes in all sorts of guises. If you're buying foods, you can look for products that are in a home compost bag, or maybe change the way you shop. I mean, if you can go to a waste-free store, these are places not expensive, because a lot of the time you're paying for the packaging more than the product anyway. So you can go to a waste-free store. There are lots of them around. They're even online. Go to your market, take your own bag with you. You don't need to put potatoes in a plastic bag. They've got their own skin. Chuck them in your bag, not your handbag, but your special shopping bag. Or take something that you can put your box of your own that you can just keep. It is an easy thing to do. I'm sure my parents and my grandparents did this because they didn't have access to this cheap plastic stuff. So yes, do that. Choose products that are plastic free. And plastic, as you say, plastic, if you're looking just for film, it's not always in the skies of film. Polypropylene, polyurethane, polyesters, any kind of PVC, that awful stuff that people, Amazon used to use, but I don't know whether they still do. That crinkly, what is that stuff? They look like little crinkly things, but it's actually polystyrene. Choose natural materials. Take it, and if you want to be, if you buy something and it's got a load of plastic around it, take it back to the shop where you bought it. You can do that. You can still take it out and leave it with the shop, but that means, that is a point where it's too late to be, okay, it's just going into the system. You have to make those choices earlier on. Natracare, we're plastic free, we're home compostable. We can home compost it, but yeah, the issue is if it's not made from a petrochemical, the bioplastic that you're using, if it's not made from a petrochemical, if it is burnt, incinerated, if it goes to your local incinerator, it will not release toxins, any toxins into the environment. If it goes into landfill, it can take a long time to biodegrade. It's the same thing as putting a lettuce in the landfill. It'll just produce CO2, water, and just a nice bit of compost. So that is the way to think. You have to, while we want to do the people in the middle, my comrades, not speaking to the converter, but it is really, you do have to do some work. If you want to make a difference, not just for yourself, because it is your health, because those plastics, those things are in those plastics will migrate into your body. Those synthetic clothes that you wear will migrate into your body. The synthetic carpets that you might be walking on will migrate into your body because these fibers are everywhere. You can do the best for your own health, your family's health, and for being a good citizen, the people of the world that really do need to us collectively take action to reduce the amount of plastic in our lives, to slow this down, and to, otherwise we're walking into as yet determined an unknown future for our health, for ourselves and for our environment and our water supplies. So that's not a very positive thing to say, is it, from the end of a positive? But be positive. There are great products and companies like Natracare and others around us who have seen this and are making change. They're designing for change, designing for a better future, for a toxic-free, easier to manipulate future. So you have to do a little bit of the work. I mean, I think we have to, humans are pretty, we've been hunter-gatherers. We've done all sorts of incredible things through evolution. So it's time to sort of bring that forward a little bit and just spend a little bit of thinking time to the betterment of yourself and for the rest of us around the world.
Brilliant. Well, Susie Hewson, environmental activist and founder of Natracare, thank you very much for your time. And we wish you all the best in your future campaigns.
Thank you very much.
Voice. Let's go. Voice FM.